Alexander Reiser emigrated from Russia to Germany 20 years ago. He runs an organization in Berlin that promotes the integration of other Russian-German immigrants. Almost all of Germany's 2.5 million Russian Germans are eligible to vote. Since the refugee crisis began, many have turned away from establishment political parties, like Chancellor Merkel's CDU. Alexander is trying to convince his fellow Russian Germans not to vote for right-wing parties. Baking bread for one of Alexander's integration meetings here in eastern Berlin. Lots of Russian Germans live in this part of town. Many are concerned because large numbers of refugees now live here. Alexander's organization is called Vision. He organizes meetings like this every other month as part of his effort to ease mistrust between the two groups. And that effort seems to be paying off, at least here. Hassan and his family fled the civil war in Syria 18 months ago and moved to Germany.
I came to Germany as an immigrant 20 years ago. I went through the same things that you're going through right now. For the first few years, people told us the Russians and the Russian mafia are lazy. They don't want to work. They're thieves. They steal cars.
You had mixed views.
Exactly.
Alexander wants Hassan to tell the others how he came to Germany. Personal stories like that can help reduce prejudice.
People don't know what you had to go through. They see only Muslims and potential terrorists. They don't realize that most of these people are not terrorists, just normal people who want to lead a normal life. Hi, Ms. Pau. Nice to see you again.
Petro Pau is the Bundestag MP for this district and a member of the Left Party. Pau is concerned about anti-refugee agitation by right-wing groups.
The AfD party is holding an open house next Friday in this district.
I heard about it.
The AfD and other right-wing groups often spread anti-immigrant propaganda. Sometimes that material is picked up by major news outlets, like Russian TV. In January 2016, Russian Germans took to the streets to protest allegations that a Russian-German girl had been raped by Arab immigrants. The story was false, but Russian state TV broadcast it anyway, as part of its campaign against Germany's refugee policy. But this case also shows that some Russian Germans may take seriously the claims of Moscow and right-wing groups about refugees. And that's cause for concern.
All these people were out there railing against refugees. But the story was fake, and they still won't admit it. I'm really upset about that.
After those demonstrations, politicians started paying more attention to the Russian-German community. Petro Pau started holding regular meetings with her Russian-German constituents.
I've met with them at my district office and at the offices of Alexander's organization. I'll talk to anyone who needs some help.
The Russian Germans are a group of potential voters that the politicians can't afford to ignore. Now, Alexander is on his way to that AfD open house. The AfD has spoken out sharply against Chancellor Merkel's refugee policy. The latest polls indicate that the party might actually win enough votes to qualify for seats in the Bundestag. Alexander wants to see for himself how the AfD tries to attract voters.
A lot of people are fed up with the establishment parties. This is a low-income district for the most part. A lot of people are just getting by. And they feel that the big parties just don't care about their problems.
Alexander knows from personal experience that a lot of the Russian German immigrants are frustrated too. The AFD hosts provide coffee and conversation in Russian.
Do you have a family?
I do.
Great.
A very big family.
Excellent.
5 brothers and sisters and my parents.
The AFD is handing out campaign materials printed in Russian. AFD politician Gunnar Lindemann is known for his sharply anti-Muslim rhetoric and doesn't think that the Russian-German community has any serious problems.
I think they're pretty well integrated. Most of the people that I know have jobs. They came here from Russia to build a better life for themselves. I don't see a lot of problems here. There are no cultural problems because German and Russian culture are similar. They're not the same, but they're similar, and they get along well.
Well, I do see some problems here. A lot of people take low-paying jobs because they have trouble with the language. And a lot of them can't find better jobs because they come from a foreign country and their professional qualifications don't mean anything here. So they take the low-end jobs. A lot of women who have college degrees in education are working as cleaning ladies. That means low wages and no retirement benefits.
Like many Russian Germans, Alexander will have trouble living on his retirement benefits, but the AFD has no solutions for those people. The Social Democrats don't seem to have a lot of answers either, but they're still working hard to win the Russian-German vote. The local Social Democrat candidate, Dmitry Geidel, is a Russian immigrant himself.
Hot off the presses.
Dmitry is focusing his campaign on winning votes among younger Russian Germans. But he's having trouble connecting with older voters who have not integrated well into German society.
Some of them have been living here for 20 years and still can't speak German properly. And they don't care. That's the problem. What would you say to them? They say everything's fine. We can live in this society.
It's a generational issue.
Dmitry says the second generation of Russian Germans is quite tolerant, especially when it comes to refugee policy.
In 2015, we were setting up refugee quarters in a gym, and a lot of young Russians pitched in to help.
Diana was born in Germany to Russian parents. They often argue about the government's refugee policy.
My parents think that the refugees are better off than they are. They say things like, when we first got here, we had nothing. We had to make it on our own. And the refugees get all this government help. We have to work for our money, and we pay our taxes to pay for refugees. They feel that the state has let them down.
Meanwhile, just around the corner, there's a party at a popular Russian-German club called Ogonyok, or Little Flame. No one wants to talk about politics here, on camera anyway. They'd rather dance. No one wants to talk except Voldemar Ewald, an AfD supporter who emigrated to Germany some 20 years ago. He's an engineer, but couldn't find a job in that profession. Now he lives on a pension of 400 euros a month. He claims that the refugees receive all kinds of state benefits. Dimitri Geidel disagrees.
We had some serious problems with integrating Russian Germans. We've got to do a better job. We must make it clear to those who come to Germany that they are part of German society and that there are opportunities for them here.
We should travel around some evening on the train or subway.
I use public transport every day.
And at night?
Are people running around with knives?
Sure, I'll show you.
I've never seen it.
The refugee girl who was sitting there didn't have one.
The refugee situation is a key political issue for Russian Germans. Alexander Reiser is trying to convince people like Voldemar not to vote for right-wing parties. But it's going to take a lot of hard work.